right, the buy box, everything you want to know. So we'll jump right into this. So what exactly is the buy box? The buy box is whenever you go to Amazon, you see that add to cart button on the right side of the page. Amazon chooses which of the sellers of that particular box is that, or of that particular product is the winner of the buy box. And it can be won by Amazon or any third-party seller. So you're basically competing with all these different people to win that buy box. And just to show you a quick little picture here, that's what the buy box looks like. Anyone have any questions about the buy box before I move on to talking a little bit more about why it's important?
I think we're good, Tim. Let's keep going.
Excellent. So why is the buy box so important? Well, studies have found that winners will generally sell 4 times more on average than non-winners. 72 billion of the 88 billion in revenue made by Amazon in 2015 were buy box winners. So 82% of the total revenue was because of was done by buy box winners. And it also does increase mobile sales. So if you're browsing Amazon on a mobile app or on the website, then you'll see here that it's difficult to see if there's any other sellers for a particular product. You have the button that just says buy now, and that's whoever wins that buy box is the one that gets added to that cart.
So, Tim, let's stop here for a second. So, what is the buy box? Why is it so important? I guess the concept that's hard for some folks to understand is when I'm searching through the Amazon framework here, and I'm looking for whatever the product may be, and I land on that product. Some people don't understand that the concept that the buy box is pertains to other people selling the product. So
Correct.
So when you see that whole 27 new from whatever price, that means there's all these other people selling against that listing. So there is one listing in this case, but there's all these other people selling against it. And the buy box is the one that Amazon has just chosen to deliver to you on a silver platter and say, hey, buy this one. And if you don't click that little button that says so many new, for example, on this one, used and new from whatever price. If you don't click on that, you're going to be buying from whomever they automatically present. And in this case, on this one, Tim.
It looks like Amazon is the one winning the buy box in this instance.
Okay, so it's shipped and sold by Amazon.com. So if another seller happened to be winning the buy box on this one, it would be shipped and sold, shipped by Amazon and sold by so-and-so. So that part actually changes up there depending on who happens to be selling the product and who Amazon has given the buy box to.
Now, why is this not Lodge that has the buy box? Because it says buy Lodge up there.
Good question. So Lodge, and this is where we get a lot of different customers who are engaging with Amazon through Vendor Central. Lodge is selling directly to Amazon. So Amazon's buying their product at wholesale, and once they have it, they sell it as Amazon.com. So it's because Lodge has decided to engage with Amazon as a direct seller to Amazon, and then Amazon turns around and sells that product at a profit to customers. So Lodge also has the choice to say, you know what, I'm not going to sell to Amazon, and I'm going to sell directly to the customers through Amazon. And that's what all these other sellers are doing. When you click on that, Tim, would you mind clicking on that new 21 from whatever price? And when we take a look at here, so you see Amazon.com is at the top. We can see the houseware shop, amazing deals and promotions, direct distributors, etc., as you go down. These are the other third-party sellers that are selling on this listing. And if they had a better price or better seller metrics or some other, there's a whole bunch of different things that Tim will get into, they could win the buy box instead of Amazon, potentially.
Correct.
So that's a concept that a lot of people don't know is, okay, there are multiple people selling this particular product, and depending on who wins the buy box is who gets presented as the first choice. And a lot of customers aren't savvy enough to go and click that link and investigate some of the other sellers. They just buy and check out. And that's where having the buy box is such a powerful thing, because it can be huge. And it's not only based on price. It can be based on a multitude of other things as well. And Tim's going to get into that in just a moment.
That's correct. All right. So that's all about the buy box and why it's so important that you really want to be in the buy box. So how do you qualify to even be in the buy box? There are actually some instances. In fact, let me pull that back up that we just had a moment ago, because I actually saw an instance of this. So was it this one? No, I think it's a really big one. Okay, so right now you can see that this particular version of this pan is no one actually is winning the buy box, because none of the people who are selling it, out of the 18 people that are selling this product right now, because you can see down here, none of them actually are eligible to even be in the buy box right now. So you can see right here, it doesn't show add to cart or buy now or any option like that. It says see all buying options. So it then becomes a 2-click purchase where you actually have to go to see all buying options, brings you to the offers for this listing, and then you can click on which one you want. So there are several things that you need to do to even qualify to even be in this box. So if you're the only person that qualifies, then you'll automatically win the buy box every time. Otherwise, if multiple people qualify, then you compete with them to see who will actually be winning the buy box. So how do you qualify? Let me get back to here. First is you need to be on the professional seller account. That's that $40 a month subscription that unlocks not only the ability to be able to win the buy box, but also you can advertise on Amazon. You can get more reporting. You have the ability to be able to list more details for products when you add them to the catalog. So there's a lot of advantages that I think we've covered before with being on that professional seller account. The other thing is that items must be in new condition. So that means used and refurbished items do not qualify. And items that are used they basically compete for what's called the buy used box. So the buy used box, you usually will see that more on books. So let's see if we can pull up an example really quick here. So let's go into I don't know, let's do Harry Potter. I'm sure there's a lot of used copies, and probably not in kitchen and dining. Harry Potter. So you can see here, #1 bestseller. You can see regular buy boxes over here. Something interesting to note about the books category, or the BMVD, which is the books, movies, video games, and DVD section, is that the only seller that qualifies for the new buy box is Amazon. All other sellers basically compete for the buy used box, which is the one down here. So if I click on this, then you'll see that it shows that it's sold by someone else. And we can actually click in, possibly, I don't know if anyone else is selling this, but you can click in and see other sellers of the used items. Your product must be available and in stock in order to qualify to even qualify to be in the buy box. Another interesting note is that back ordered items. So let's say if you are fulfilling the orders yourself, you can actually put in there that your items are back ordered, and you will qualify for the buy box, but Amazon is still going to prefer sellers who have the product actually in stock. The other thing that qualifies you is you have to have good seller metrics, have a really high level of seller performance whenever you're interacting with customers, and just your general metrics. And lastly, all your products must be listed at or below the MSRP set by the manufacturer. Not all products have an MSRP set, but especially if Amazon is selling the product, you bet that they're probably going to have an MSRP on there. And even if you're the only person selling that particular product, if you're over that MSRP price, then you are not going to be able to show up in that buy box.
Although when they click show buying options, you'll be the only option they can choose.
That's correct. That is definitely correct. All right. Any questions about qualifications before we really get into the meat and potatoes about how we actually qualify or how we win the buy box?
I just have one real quick one. We're talking about it must be available and in stock, but then we're also saying that it can be a back ordered item. So I'm a little confused by how that works together.
Right. It's just saying that in general, your product has to be available and in stock. So if you don't have any stock at Amazon or you have zero available for fulfillment, then Amazon will not let you into the buy box at all. But they do have one exception, and that's if you indicate to Amazon that your products are back ordered. They will say that people can still order from you, but they just will not be as preferred as products that are actually in stock and available to purchase right now.
Okay, got it.
That's where, if there's two sellers, one of them has them back order, one of them has them in stock, Amazon's going to give preferential treatment to the one that's in stock because that serves the customer's needs better than the one that's back ordered. And I can make a comment on that back order. If you're going to use that back ordered feature, don't give yourself too thin of a time frame to get that stuff in. If you are relying on a shipping company gets something to you, slice that time frame really thin, and you're saying that your product's going to be available at Amazon by a certain date, and Amazon allows you to do pre-orders on that back-ordered stock, you had better get it in by that date because you could have a horrible situation on your hands in terms of your seller performance if you're not able to fulfill on what you said you're going to. I've definitely seen that happen before.
And then I also wanted to add that back order is not an option even available if you use the FBA program. It's, again, only if you fulfill orders yourself. All right.
Another thing I wanted to bring up was
how,
excuse me, if you run out of stock, but you actually have products inbound, a lot of sellers I don't think realize at a certain point, once Amazon knows where they're at in the shipping process, they'll actually make some of those units, if not all of them. It depends on which warehouse it's going to available for purchase. So having a consistent flow of product into Amazon's warehouses is important and key to keeping that buy box in your favor. So just wanted to point that out as well.
Excellent point. All right. So we'll move on to the next part. How do you check to actually see if your product is even eligible for the buy box? Just going to walk you through the process. So if you, in Seller Central, hover over inventory, then click on manage inventory. Then you'll give a preference. You'll see a preferences button on the right-hand side that says preferences. It might say a different number of columns hidden, but you basically just click on that button. Then you'll see a checkbox for an item that says buy box eligible. Check that box. Click on save changes. And when you go back to the manage inventory screen, you'll actually see a new column that says buy box eligible. And you'll see either say yes or no. All right. So now, what are the best practices to actually win the buy box if you're competing with other sellers?
Tim, I want to jump in just for a second, if I could, please. Sorry for interrupting.
Sure.
But the question is, I know this happens all the time with other aspects of Amazon. So you go through that process you just went through, you get a yes or no. If you get a no, is there ways for you to determine what's causing the answer to be no, so you can, go ahead and try to fix that and get eligible? Because I know a lot of our, a lot of the no's we hear on Amazon are not, laden with explanation.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really about going down this particular list and looking to see if any one of these particular items is you're not qualifying for. Another thing is you may be selling in a category that you're not approved to sell in. So there are certain gated categories that you need to actually seek Amazon's approval to be able to sell in. If you somehow are able to add a product or add an offer for a product that's in a gated category, but you're not allowed to sell it, then you will not show them in the buy box either. But that's a very category specific issue.
So again, how would you, if you got the no on there, how would you be able to determine that that might be a category issue? Is there any way to do that, or is it just sort of
No,
a process of elimination?
process of elimination. Yeah, there's no way. Amazon doesn't necessarily tell you just right off the bat, give you check boxes that you need to check off. So they just tell you that these are the things that you need to be able to even qualify for the buy box, and it's up to you to go through these and troubleshoot.
Got it. Thanks.
All right. All right. So, what are the best things you can do to win the buy box? Really plain and simple, use FBA. Like we said before, if you well, one thing that I want to note is that, let's say if you're a brand new seller with no track record, no history with Amazon, oftentimes you will not win the buy box just from the sheer fact that you have no metrics, and it goes back to that good customer satisfaction rate that we talked about earlier. So brand new sellers will generally not be able to win the buy box at all. And by getting into the FBA program, that gives Amazon a certain level of assurance, and therefore the customers have confidence in being able to purchase something and know that they're going to receive it. And that's because Amazon's the one actually fulfilling the order. Go ahead.
To further define, FBA, for those of you that are watching this and don't know, is fulfillment by Amazon. And essentially, you send your product into Amazon, and they do all the fulfillment to the end user, the end customer, when they order that product. So that level of comfort that Amazon gets when you use FBA is they're in control of the fulfillment process, and that allows them to then allow you to win the buy box because they know that the customer is going to get taken care of.
And in general, Amazon will always prefer, not always, I'd say in general, will prefer a seller who has a Prime sticker next to their listing or next to their offer, rather than ones that are being fulfilled by the merchant.
And that's an important thing to note as well. If you want your products to be available via Prime and you're using Seller Central, you have to use FBA in most circumstances. So if you want to have FBA or you want to have Prime for the customer, you have to be an FBA as a seller in most circumstances. And what's interesting is even on these other things that Tim's going to go through, even if you have a higher price than some other people who are doing self-fulfillment or FBM, fulfillment by merchant, you can still win the buy box even with a higher price in some circumstances.
There is a little middle ground in there, and like Paul said, most circumstances it will be using FBA will usually give you leverage up. But there is a newer program called Seller Fulfilled Prime, which is an invite-only program right now through Seller Central, where you basically are offering the customer free 2-day shipping, but you have to go through all sorts of qualifications, and you have to meet all sorts of metrics to be able to even qualify and remain in that program. So that's something new that Amazon is starting to do that kind of bridges the gap between the two, that will still qualify you as being Prime eligible and therefore going to win against the competition. All right. The other thing that can have a really big impact is your having a lower total sales price. So that's your price plus shipping and any other costs that are associated with that. I don't think they take tax into account with this, but there is definitely something to they do account for shipping. So if it's a $20 item, you charge $5 additional for shipping. That's $25 total. But there's someone who is offering it Prime for the same price. They're usually gonna win. But if you lower your price plus shipping to maybe about $24 and they're $25 with Prime, it's a little bit of a toss-up. Even though the Prime offer is a little bit more, they may still win the buy box because it's a separate metric.
In the game of selling in the $20, $30 range, I've seen a gap of $4 seems to be pretty prominent, where if you're selling FBA $4 more than someone who's doing self-fulfillment price plus shipping, you can still win the buy box being Prime, even with your product costing $4 more than the next available fulfillment by merchant item.
All right. So the next thing that has a high impact is having fast shipping times. So Amazon divides this up into different tiers. So tier 1 is shipping to the customer within 0 to 2 days. Tier 2 is 3 to 7 days. Tier 3 is 8 to 13 days. And tier 4 is 14 or more days. So what this means is, let's say you have a product that right now is taking 6 days to ship to the customer, and you decided that you're going to change it around so that it now gets to the customer within 3 days. You're still within the same tier, so you're actually not improving any, and you're not beating out any competition by making that kind of improvement. You have to get down to about 2 days to be able to actually have higher eligibility or higher higher eligibility or higher buy box percentage.
And that's if you're doing the self-fulfill, right, Tim?
Yes, that's correct. Self-fulfillment. Then the last thing is having a high perfect order percentage. Actually, I think there's one after this, but high perfect order percentage score. Basically, any order that has any negative feedback, an A to Z guarantee claim, a chargeback, a cancellation, a late shipment, or a refund, or a buyer initiated message. I think that's the last one. Yep, that's the last one. If it has any of those, then it is considered a less than perfect order. So if you have if you have a greater number of imperfect orders, then that will have a big impact on you being able to qualify for that buy box. All right. So any questions on that before we moved on to items that have a medium impact on buy box?
No, Tim, please proceed.
All right. So what kind of products or what kind of items help you win the buy box that have a medium impact? So this is kind of getting into some of the more nitty gritty metrics that you have. You need to have a late shipment rate of less than 4%. If you obviously want to have a late shipment rate of 0%, and the lower your percentage, the more likely you're going to win the buy box. But you definitely need to make sure you keep that under 4%. The next thing, and actually Amazon has recently said that this is a mandatory thing, is that all your shipments need to have a valid tracking rate of more than 95%. So that means more than 95% of all your shipments have to have a tracking number.
If I didn't have a tracking number in the video card that I had today, I wouldn't have had to go down the street to find my package.
Yes, that's right. And I bet you if you still weren't able to find it, you would be able to call Amazon, and they would be able to take care of you. And,
exactly.
Yeah,
they'd refund my order, probably charge it back to the person that shipped it to me. We'd order another one, and it'd be out in a day or two.
Exactly. So Amazon, that's also an advantage of buying a prime product and doing the whole FBA program from a seller perspective. Is Amazon will just take care of that. You as a seller don't have to worry about that. Amazon takes responsibility. On-time delivery rate has to be greater than 97%. So that means that you have to make sure that your product will arrive within that time frame that you promised. And the order defect rate has to be less than 1%. And of course, seller feedback has a really big impact on your buy box percentage. So if you have really bad feedback, that's averaging maybe 3 out of 5 stars, that's not good. And then the number of feedbacks that you have also has an effect. So it's a way for Amazon to compare apples to apples, sellers who are maybe very new and don't have very many feedbacks, to give them a fair chance to be able to win against customers who have a lot, or sellers that have a lot of feedback.
Interesting note here, those feedbacks, just to clarify for those folks that are out there, are essentially those star ratings on your seller account.
Correct.
So, and they're not called reviews, they're called feedback. Reviews are on products, feedbacks are on seller accounts. Tim, can you pull up an example to show comparison of
Sure.
folks?
So we're going to look at, obviously Amazon doesn't have a feedback score. So we'll just go to another seller of this pan that we were looking at earlier. So let's look at this Tundra Restaurant Supply. They have a 93% positive score. So that's like almost a 5 out of 5 with over 1,361 feedbacks. So you can see here, even though this seller has a higher percentage, they don't have as many feedbacks. So that's probably one of the reasons why this one is higher up and winning the buy box, even though they have, if we were to add these numbers together, 64 plus 15, 68
it's like
shipping.
$10 less than the next thing, yeah.
Yeah, so they're winning based on the total price. They're winning based off of their feedback percentage is pretty good. They have a lot of history. They have over 1,000 feedbacks total. And their shipping time right now, it's a few days longer, 18th to the 21st. But yeah, they're winning.
Yeah, that's because their price is $10 lower. So now if you look at the top 4 here, if price was equal, DTL Direct would get the buy box. Their percentage is just vastly higher. Their number of ratings is second most, and big huge thing is they're an FBA, right? Because they have that Prime sticker there.
Correct.
So they would definitely be winning the buy box if the playing field was equal. So we work with a number of manufacturers, and we advise them they can actually even out that playing field through a number of means. Cutting off distribution to other people who are selling your product, to enforcing MAP policy to make sure everybody's selling at the same price, because then you can actually even out that playing field and win the buy box, or even eliminate other people selling your products and be the only one who gets the buy box. So there's a number of ways to really ramp up the number of sales you're doing through Amazon's framework if you take control of some of these different things that are within the Amazon buy box framework.
And there is one thing I want to kind of add on top of that. So all because this person may be winning the buy box right now, it's not a finite thing. It's not like every single customer who comes to this page is always going to see that the person selling the product and trying to get to a better product. So it doesn't mean that the person that's selling the product, that every single customer who comes to this page is always going to see this same seller. What happens is you share the buy box with all the people that qualify for the buy box. It's a percentage. And sometimes if you go into your reports, you'll see that your buy box percentage is like 50%. If it were 50%, then that means that half of the customers who come to your product detail page will be offered will have you as the buy box. So it's always done on a percentage. Amazon rotates through the through the sellers in the buy box all the time, and you can always go into your reporting to be able to tell who or how often you are in that buy box. So you get a higher percentage by doing all these things, which I think there's a couple more that we need to cover.
Hey, Tim, can you flip back to that screen where it showed the different folks and the different percentages?
Yep.
There's no excuse to have anything less than 99 or 98%. If you know what you're doing, and that's why folks hire us, we can help you get that percentage up to that level. There's a lot of people that aren't using all the methods available to them through Amazon to get their feedback to where it really should be at that 98 or 99 or 100% level. But we won't get into that right now. But that, it does impact your ability to get the buy box, and you got to take control of that as well. So Tim, go ahead and move on to the next point.
I just
All
have
right.
one question on that. Is location affecting the buy box at all? Like the physical location and what's available at each warehouse and where the customer's ordering from?
That's a good question.
Well, it's sort of in a roundabout way. So you can now, with the new shipping model that you have, if you're fulfilling the order, it makes an impact if you're fulfilling the order yourself. Let's put it that way. Amazon will let you designate different shipping times to different parts of the country now. So yeah, if you, as we went before, into the high impact section. So when we go back here, If your product or your shipping time falls into a different tier for that customer, then yes, that will certainly affect your buy box of availability for that particular customer. All right.
Customer response times, Tim.
Yes, customer response times. Amazon really prides themselves on great customer service, and therefore it is very important that you respond to customer inquiries as soon as possible. Amazon compares the last 7 days, the last 30 days, and the last 90 days of response times to the other sellers to help determine what your buy box percentage is. And the message ratings are divided up into tiers, just like we talked about before with the delivery tiers. There's different tiers that they categorize each response into. So the first tier is if you respond within 12 hours. Second tier is if you respond within 12 to 24 hours. Tier 3 is if you respond in more than 24 hours. And tier 4 is if you never respond to the inquiry. And the reason why that's important is that if you want to make sure that less than 10% of all your messages fall into tier 3 or 4. I would say it should be even less than that. It should be absolutely none should ever get more than 24 hours. But as you can see, it's important enough to Amazon to say that this will impact how often you will get the buy box.
Now, if you hire Amazon to manage your account, I can guarantee everything's going to be in tier 1. And in fact, we're always shooting for things under 1 hour on average. So we have staff that watch that very diligently for our Amazon management clients. And I know the one that we have the best average on, we're at 49 minutes average response time for one of our clients right now, which is something that we're trying. I know Jessica was saying she was very disappointed. She went from 43 to 49 today, but on that one particular client. But we're always trying to keep it under an hour for sure.
Great. So this is the last thing, which is best practices. What are the items that don't have as much of an effect but are still important? Inventory depth. How much inventory you have in stock. You want to make sure you keep your product in stock, because if you always are going out of stock, you'll lose that buy box. And it also can affect, especially if you're the only one selling that particular product, that can also affect your best sellers ranking. The other thing is sales volume. If you sell a lot of that product, then you're usually going to be favored for the buy box. And your cancellation rate will also have a certain amount of impact. And in conjunction with that, your refund rate. So if you get a lot of products shipped back and refunded, that can actually affect how often you win the buy box for that particular product. And then a couple future metrics that may affect it, things that were introduced this year, but technically don't have an impact, at least not anything that's been officially recognized by Amazon yet as of yet this year, are the return dissatisfaction rate. So how well you handle returns. If you make the customer go through hoops to be able to return a product, or if you just don't react to any returns in a very timely manner, then that will negatively affect your dissatisfaction rate, so to speak. And then customer service dissatisfaction rates. Very similarly, if a customer asks you a question or sends you a message on the Amazon system and they're not really happy with the response that they got from you, then that's going to negatively affect your customer service dissatisfaction rates.
So this is our presentation, but I want to have a little discussion here about what is this all about? Why if you really look at all the different points that Tim has covered here, what is it all about? And it's all about customer service. Amazon is measuring your ability to deliver customer service through all these different metrics, whether or not you take care of the customer on their behalf and really make sure that things are right. And that's where you can really go above and beyond in customer service in a lot of different ways. And a lot of folks look at customer service or returns or something as a pain. They don't want to deal with it. They get aggravated with folks returning things, and a lot of times the issues that are coming up, well, if you get upset about returns, that's just part of doing business. It will happen. People are going to be dissatisfied. You have to look at that as a percentage of your total business. You can't get upset about your returns. You have to look at it as part of what you need to do. And then you got to look at it from a customer standpoint. When somebody isn't happy with something, just think about when you're not happy with something. You want that store to take care of you. And yeah, if the way I look at it is, if somebody is dissatisfied with something that we sell on Amazon, we not only want to give them, we want to tell them right away, we're going to take care of you. We want to make sure that this is right. Then we secondarily tell them that you should never pay for something that you don't like, because that's what you want to hear. And third, if there's something where you want to get the product back because you want to investigate maybe if it's a counterfeit item, or you want to investigate whether it was maybe something packaged wrong, or in some sort of commingled situation at Amazon to investigate maybe it's the wrong item, or you have them take a picture or send it back, you go ahead and do that, but give them a prepaid shipping label. So this way they're not having to pay for that. And then I oftentimes will tell them, keep the item. I gave you a return, and let me send you another one just so you're super happy. Because the worst thing that could happen is they leave you a 1-star review, or they start affecting your seller metrics in some way that could decrease your ability to win the buy box. So look at those situations that come up for buyer seller messages where they're complaining or they have a return as an opportunity to get a 5-star feedback on your account just by doing some great customer service. A lot of people don't think about it that way. A lot of people get upset about it, and they're like, I don't want to deal with this. Yeah, look at it as an opportunity to improve your listing. Maybe there's some, if you get a whole bunch of people responding that they don't understand something, or yeah, I was confused because it said there was 2 in this package and I only got 1, or whatever it is. Look at that as an opportunity to make your listing better, make your situation better, get a 5-star feedback. And those are really important things to really internalize when you're selling on Amazon, because it will only come back to enhance your ability to sell more and win the buy box even more often. I wanted to see if Tim or Blake had some additional commentary on that.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Amazon's all about the customer experience, and that's going to be the end all deciding factor for Amazon. That's their MO. They want this to be able to be the best platform to purchase products on.
Yes. Excuse me. I wanted to mention a couple things. There's no, Amazon doesn't give you impacts on the buy box in terms of what's the most important, what's the medium importance, and what's the low importance. But there's studies, there's been articles and documents written. There's almost a consensus on what the biggest metrics on impact on the buy box are, and those 4 are the fulfillment method, which is fulfilled by Amazon or fulfilled by merchant, the landed price, so essentially the price, your perfect order percentage score, and your shipping time. And having all those 4 metrics done correctly is almost as simple as being in the fulfilled by Amazon program, because they take care of most of that besides the landed price. And besides the customer service that Paul mentioned, there's customer service that Amazon does fulfill, but certain questions Amazon just cannot answer, and it's up to you to provide that customer service. And this just highlights how important that Prime sticker and being fulfilled by Amazon is for your company, because when Amazon handles all of these metrics, most of them, you do not have to do anything but set a price, get good prices on your product, whether it's importing it, good wholesale prices, whether you produce it in-house, but just getting your product to Amazon, getting an optimized and correct listing, and then letting Amazon take care of the rest. It's almost a fail-safe system, and it's just so important, and it's hard to not do fulfill by merchant when Amazon takes care of all those aspects.
Yeah, and you know the other big thing is, Blake, when you're using an FBA, the biggest things you have to worry about is, do you have a quality product? Is it packaged well? Is it going to arrive well? And it really takes a lot of those different factors out of play that could prevent your ability to get the buy box. So when we're talking about, or when we talk to manufacturers that are really eager to add Amazon into their fulfillment center and fulfill all these packages. Oh, well, we don't want to pay Amazon the fees because we'll just add it into our fulfillment center and let our guys take care of it and send those out. And I'll be like, no, you give it all to Amazon, let them take care of it, because not only do they take care of all those metrics for you, they take responsibility for a lot of the different issues that happen as a result of them doing it. Whereas if you do it yourself, they're gonna put the onus on you for whatever may happen. And a lot of those things are out of your control because of the carriers that you use. And Amazon uses the same carriers, but because they have the relationship with the carrier and they initiated the process, they take on the responsibility, which can be a huge advantage to you. Plus, just being an FBA in general has such a huge impact on you winning the buy box. So even if you want to use your own fulfillment center to get the products out directly to the customers, just not being an FBA means you're not going to rank as well. You're not going to win the buy box as well. And that in and of itself, and that alone is a good enough reason to get into FBA, because it just has a huge impact. And we've seen it time and time again where folks, their ranking of their product goes from 600,000 to 600, or their sales. I think what we tell people is you'll see an average 30% increase in sales. In fact, one client that we were going to be talking to tomorrow, switching them completely over to FBA, the products that they have experienced an over 200% increase in sales from last month to this month, which is just incredible for them. In fact, they've grown from, I was looking at the percentages this morning, they grew 53% from last month to this month. And based on the current trending, the first 6 days of October, they're going to be up 58% this upcoming month. Just jumping from 93,000 to 154,000 to an estimated 240,000 this upcoming month. So those numbers are just incredible just by being an FBA. And that's really something that a lot of manufacturers just don't get. Just do it. It just makes a huge difference in the bottom line.
Yeah, and you can always reverse that. If it doesn't work out, don't take our word for it. I mean, we let the results speak for themselves, but you can always revert back to the fulfilled by merchant system. But you got to give the fulfilled by Amazon a chance. It's the highest metric between FBA and FBM that gives you the buy box if you're competing with other people. It's hands down.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about it.
You can even do both on the same listing, which can be advantageous for certain situations as well.